Hey everybody, sorry I'm late. But chores being what they are have to be done, and all that good stuff, right? All that sort of rot. And here we are. Um, I am thinking edit. Seems to add. Yes, can do that as well. Save changes. So now we're in two places. All right, we are in two places. How you guys doing? Hope everybody is doing exceptionally well, or as well as I'm trying to do, and everything else. Um, just need to take care of one other little chore here before we get started in earnest. Close that down. Um, Edit this, and let's see here, monetization. Let's see if we can get a change over here. I'll change that from off to on, and then save. Okay. Then back to details. Just scroll down so I can get, there it is, sports. So I got it set on news and politics, but it really ought to be on sports, right? There. Of course, just as I say that, it doesn't want to go into place. Hurry up. It move. It's funny. It moves down, but it won't move down. They've got to work on the coding behind this thing. Oh, boy. Okay. So what happens, folks, is it moves down to sports and then it pops back. And so it effectively doesn't move. It moves down like a fooler and then it goes back and forth and it won't catch. There, wait a minute. Wait a second. There. It doesn't catch again. This is the weirdest thing, folks. It will not catch. It's got a mind of its own. There. And then it will not let me just latch on the sports. There it is. Sports. Amazing how that works. All right. So got that done. Let me go back here. Everybody's here. All right. So I'm just going to go for it. All right. I'm here. This is, where is he at? I'm here. Let's get right to the chase now that I've lined all that up. And I want to show you something right here. This, what you're looking at, is the website, for those of you who've never seen it before, of, ta-da, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. All right. It is responsible for the Allegiant Stadium. What this is, folks, is an organization that is designed to be the seat of bonds that are floated, in this instance for Allegiant Stadium, and eventually for the $380 million combination of tax credits and bonds that will be floated for the Oakland Athletics Las Vegas Stadium. Now, the Raiders Stadium, of course, had a $645 million bond issue. That the idea is the Clark County creates the seat, they call it a stadium authority, and it is by legislation tasked with the ability to float bonds on behalf of a private tenant, in this instance, the Oakland Raiders. And then, of course, it'll be modified thanks to Mark Arnold, who's a specialist in these areas, to handle the A's. Now, originally, the December meeting, if you remember, got canceled. December 3rd got canceled. And prior to that, I thought, perhaps you thought, that we'd see the new renderings, but a little birdie told me no. And so now I thought myself, hey, it'll be the 18th. Now, let's do some house cleaning here. First of all, let's talk about what we know before we get to the agenda. We know that there was a competition between Gensler and a group that combined HNTB and Bjark Ingels. Now, I know that that competition finished now 2.5 months ago, and Bjark Ingels HNTB won. Now, I was told by a friend of mine who worked on the project that, and this is before they decided which one to go with, they being the A's, that the design that he, representing HNTB, and Bjark Ingels worked on was, and I quote, crazy. That's how it was described to me. Crazy. Okay. That was roughly three months ago. He said it was crazy, but he didn't know at the time if they were going to win. And I said, hey, if you win, give me an interview. And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. Well, you know, heads came in and said, hey, you just tap down, little fella. Well, he's not a little fella. But at any rate, then Bill Hornbuckle, president of MGM, had a meeting with the team, as he called, including Oakland Athletics president Dave Covell and Oakland A's director of communications Eric George and communications representative Catherine Aker, who's been playing double duty, actually triple duty jobs. They have a small group of people that have been working overtime in Las Vegas to get the stadium deal done, combined with teams of lobbyists. Now, of course, the architecture teams that are working remotely to get this done, get to a point where eventually they can have a groundbreaking. That's the objective. All right. And that's where the Las Vegas Stadium Authority comes in. The Stadium Authority is not just the seat of the bonds by legislation, the place where you say, what does that mean? It's the place where the bond documents will be created, or the bond documents will be created by the underwriter on behalf of the Stadium Authority. And it will have what is called a ledger that shows the debt, needed debt coverage ratios and revenues for each year of the life of the bond issues, depending on how, no matter how it's structured. The prospectus will describe what it's for in detail. Some of these prospectus include market studies. Why? Because they're trying to sell bonds. That's the idea. But the Stadium Authority is much more than that. It is also the organization that will work with the tenant, the A's, so that the stadium is properly operating, in a sense, working on behalf of the athletics, because the real owner of the revenue coming through will be the Oakland A's, a structure very similar to what the Raiders have enjoyed, and that has in no small measure fueled the Raiders' $6 billion franchise value to this point. Now, let me be blunt. It's not so much that they're slow, but you have people who are impatient, who want to see something. And so they are asking questions. And so it makes it seem like, oh, they're behind schedule. All right. And they're not behind schedule. And so, like, for example, let me give you an example of what I mean by, an idea that reflects what I'm talking about. This is Zach. He says, I'm concerned that the A's plan or move to Las Vegas will fall through or part because of past events. Don't understand what you mean there. I'm hearing all sorts of rumors about the A's, John Fisher, not having the public funds to move. Well, see, let me take that. I'm glad you presented this, Zach, because I want to take that one by one and explain why that's not the case. First of all, there's been no past failure with the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. They had their first crack at the Raiders, and not only that, they finished the document evaluation and preparation 2 months ahead of schedule. All right. They were a little over budget, and I predicted they would be. I also predicted that when the bonds were let, that they would be and experience less than needed revenue to cover their to service their debt. Why? Because the 88/100th% tax rate, it was just too small. They should have stuck at 1%, but they didn't want to, because Steven Sisolak, who was county commissioner for Clark County, chair, and then governor, after that, decided, hey, you know what? Um, we're going to lose out to our competitor hotels in Chicago and so on. All right. Now, all right. So the whole point I'm making here is that it didn't come in. That's the only problem that it had. But when you consider the structure, well, it wasn't the only problem. For example, there was one guy that died by suicide. Yeah, a construction worker committed suicide during the project. Very sad story, very sad tale. There were frequent fights among groups of people being overpayment money. All right. It wasn't by any means a perfect operation. And the real story of that has never been told. I mean, you might see, like, I think Mike, the guy who does Dirty Jobs, did some segments. So that was nice marketing. But the real story will probably wind up as a TV movie or a real movie someplace. Uh, it's that tragic. It even cost this gentleman his business because his life. He committed suicide. It was over a monetary dispute, and that's as much as I'm going to say. But it was very sad. Okay, it was very sad. And but here's the point. All that underscores the fact that the project was completed. It was a little bit late ahead of schedule because originally they thought it was going to be ready by 2019. It wasn't. So where did the Raiders wind up playing? Oakland Coliseum. Remember that? Okay, we were probably there. So the point I'm making is, yeah, it had fits and starts, but what project doesn't of that magnitude? They built it. They built Allegiant Stadium, and now it is one of the darlings, the other being Las Vegas Sphere, and a few others of the Las Vegas entertainment scene. Let's just put that out there and play it, where it lay. Okay. So you're saying that past efforts, and then you say that failed attempts in California where they're supposed to go to San Jose in the past, that's got nothing to do with anything. And not only that, you're talking about circumstances just because they happened to wear the A's. But the A's back then were helmed by Mike Crowley as president. All right. And I believe Jim Bloom worked in marketing for them until I think it was 2005. And then we had a number of people I know. Some of them I still know. Who I have overall a 30-year relationship with the people who worked for the Athletics. Some of them are still there. Others, like Jim Broom, came on my show. Wasn't very nice, but that's Jim, right? But I quasi understood where he's coming from. Whatever. So I don't see that. These are, the fact of the matter is, I'm not going to go in a long history, but everybody knows that the A's have been trying to find a new stadium in Oakland, the Bay Area, for quite some time. I was never a proponent of them moving to San Jose. I'll say that. I want them in Oakland. But Oakland didn't deliver for the umpteenth time. The government of Oakland, our government, did not respect the timetable of the Athletics, just like they didn't respect the timetable for the Raiders, just like they didn't respect the timetable for the NFL when I worked on trying to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland just before the turn of the century. Okay, so it's in Oakland's government employee DNA to not act in a timely fashion regarding big public-private partnerships that have to do with sports and entertainment. Port of Oakland, different story, but Port of Oakland has its own organization, which is why we need our own. Okay, so that's there. But to apply that history to Las Vegas is to miss a whole set of reasons why Las Vegas does it better. And I have an old saying that I borrow from Star Trek. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. In other words, and that comes from Mr. Scott, by the way. But my whole point is, the first time I thought, hey, the Raiders belong in Oakland. No, Las Vegas, they don't have this, they don't have that, da, 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 right? Like many people, all right, I took for granted, but I was willing to learn because I like to study, and I went to planning school, urban planning. So what they were doing was right up my bailiwick. So I was able to look at the bond issue, look at the economic numbers, the marketing numbers, run my own analysis. Okay. And to cut to the chase, so I don't want to bore you with all that, what I learned is this. All right. First of all, they do what they do by a process of stadium authorities, which really, in the overall history of stadium development in the United States, is still brand new if you look at over the last generation. Now, stadium authorities are all over the place. Virginia has a stadium authority. Las Vegas has a stadium authority. Texas has a couple of stadium authorities, although they don't call it exactly by that name. You can go on and on and on. Nashville in Tennessee has a new stadium authority for the Titans' new facility that's going to be just kick butt. Okay. Stadium authorities are the economic development tool of the third decade of the 21st century. All right. Because why? Think about what they're, well, housing teams. Some of these teams that now, like the Dodgers, have salaries that are almost in the billions. How are you going to pay for that? Eventually, these stadium authorities are going to wind up developing little towns, all right, rather than the stadium that seats 33 or 40,000. And for those people who say, well, the stadium is getting smaller for premium seating, right? That's going to give way to a town setup. Yeah, with buildings and apartments and condominiums and everything else. I mean, even more advanced than a baseball village, because but still with the team getting the revenues from a larger spread of sources. All right, that's where we're headed, to pay for these really expensive players. The need for this revenue has increased in the same direction as, well, it can only increase, right, as salaries. You go back from 2003 to now, baseball salaries have increased 49%, for example. And of course, NFL salaries have went up. All right. So that's really what's fueling this. It's the salaries. It's the need to pay these players. And so these organizations, like the Cowboys, like the Rams, like the Raiders, and so on, need to have all the rate of this money that is gained in that stadium. And the A's are going to be part of that. All right. So you say you hear rumors about John Fisher not having the public funds. No, 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 no. That's twisted too. It's not John Fisher that gets it. It gets it. And you need to get out of your head, this use of John Fisher. John Fisher is over here. He's a dude. The Athletics Investment Group is the organization that owns the A's, but they have investments in other places. All right. And the public money has not been let yet at this point, but it will be. Right now, the bond issue is probably about 4 months to being released. All right. Guy Hobbs, who I've had on this show, is hard at work putting together that bond issue, although that's not the only work he's got. Hobbs and Ong. And if you're thinking, is that the same Kathy Ong, who's the wife of now former Governor Steve Sisolak? The answer is yes. All right. And so where we are at right now is when Bill Hornbuckle made his comment about this is spectacular, and he was in with the team. He wasn't, there having just a social or something. What he's interested in is how he can get involved, get MGM involved, and Dave Cabo wants MGM involved as a sponsor. All right. So as I speak, sponsors, potential sponsors, are trying to figure out where they are going to put their name and logo on this facility, and they're working out deals to help them get the sponsorship financing out of the way. That's what's going on. That is why the meeting on the 24th is such a big deal, because guess who is it for? Who's it by? The Vegas Yeah, that's right. The business council of Las Vegas, or the Vegas Council, or of uh, and they will have one of their giant events drawing perhaps 500 or 600 of their members, the business community, to have a first look. And so, yeah, I would not be surprised if that is where the stadium design is revealed. It's only logical. The A's are Jack Bull trying to sell sponsorships, and they're looking at their target in their mind is 2 billion. They believe they can get something like that, and but they'll be happy with 1 billion, 1.2 billion when all is said and done. The naming rights will fetch somewhere between one third to one half of that, and then there'll be a number of other different sponsors around it. But they believe they have a good stand a good shot of getting it, and the design and how unusual it is in an area that prizes unusual structures is what's going to get them there. I'm saying this for myself. I'm not saying that they've said that, but I believe, having understood that dynamic, that's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to be blown away by what they come up with. I'll just say that right out here. And so, at any rate, he said they mess with my head and brain. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see here. Vegas Mark says, wait a minute. Let me get your comments. I don't want to get too far ahead of what you're saying. Okay, I got that one. Then he says, the Vegas Chamber, thank you, will host a fireside chat. That's what I'm talking about. That I believe that's what will happen. I'm very excited for the new stadium in Las Vegas. Many people are, but don't know what to believe or understand. I was at the Raiders game last in Oakland against Jacksonville when they just lost to Jacksonville. Poor Derek Carr. Zach says, Vegas Mark says to Zach Basher, easy, don't believe anything regarding the A's from a California or Bay Area source. You know, and so says, oh, Vegas Mark, I will stop watching your Bay Area shows. There's a lot of fake news going on, and it's disgusting. It's not helping people who really want to learn what's going on, regardless of where they're from, learn. And that gets back to what turned me against what Oakland was doing the second time, because, and I'll just say this, my god sister, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaff, didn't debrief. When we lost the Raiders to Las Vegas, we didn't have this collective come to Jesus meeting about what went wrong. And Libby basically rolled out the same playbook and did the same thing. Okay. So now she's running for state treasurer, and I support her run for state treasurer because I think that's a job that she'll do very well at for the state of California. At any rate, and so says Vegas Mark says that they did the same thing with the Raiders. Yeah, they did, and I'm glad you mentioned that. There was a lot of fake news going on with the Raiders, although not to the degree you see here, because A's fans are more partiers than Raider fans. Raider fans were more rabid booster types that were into being friends with the owner, the players, having parties with players. I'm not saying the A's fans don't do that, but the Raiders fans were more embracive of the older, of Mark Davis, than A's fans. A's fans are more want to make fun of John Fisher, and rather than say, hey, stay in Oakland, right? Like Raider fans said, stay in Oakland. Instead, A's fans say sell. Now that's a great way to get an owner on your side when you want to basically sell the team that is making this person famous and to a degree rich, on top of all the other holdings the person has. It just isn't smart. And yet, the impression that I've gotten about how A's fans have handled this for the most part is it's like they want to have the A's back so they can party, but let's just be absolutely blunt. All right. A's fans did not go to the games when the organization was not performing well. All right. The attendance showed it. Oh, popular team like the Yankees or something, they're there. But when the one-loss record is down, we're not talking about like the Cubs fans. I grew up in Chicago until we moved out here April 8th of 74. And when I was 12 years old, and I'll tell you, the the simple fact of the matter is that you you always saw a full Wrigley Field or near, always, okay, always. And the A's fans have, for the most part, not matched that. All right. So if you want any team to stay here or be here, you got to go to the games. That's just the way it is. You got to go to the games. A lot of A's fans don't live in Oakland, and so they don't show any allegiance to Oakland. So there's that other problem. So because they don't have an allegiance to Oakland, they're not at city council meetings making demands, like, unlike Raider boosters. Raider Nation was in force. Doesn't matter if it was with Dr. Death or any other Raider boosters of the late Greg Jones, or Godfather Grizz, as we call him. Rest in peace. All right. That's the difference. I mean, Raider fans, when it came to the team and the owner and providing support, positive support, were hardcore. I'm sorry. The truth of the matter is that A's fans are not. All right. And that's just something that's just got to be put out there and dealt with. That's just a fact. So he says, I remember that someone funny how history repeats itself. Well, history repeated itself because Oakland didn't learn from history. All right. Eric Grubman told us when he was head of NFL properties, stadium point persons for the NFL, that Oakland didn't plan for a stadium, that it was kind of rushing to catch up, but it didn't do anything on its own. It was like a preventative or a stopgap, and that's not how you build a stadium. And he's right. So MGM makes a lot more sense as a sponsor. The legendary and iconic MGM Grand is literally across the street from the ballpark site. Yep. Zach says, I'm trying to learn about this subject, and so many people are telling me this and that, but I believe you, my friend. It's not a matter when you believe me. I encourage you to study. Okay? Study. You have the internet. All right? And people today, for whatever reason, don't do research on the internet. They only try to find something that parrots their prejudices. Okay? I've seen that in this instance a lot of the time. Okay? And so you get bad information. Why does Brody keep posting the same baloney about Vegas? 9 acres, 40th market, locals won't support, blah, blah, blah. What's his point of doing this? I don't know. I don't know the man. All I know is that for a time, he was, and I did write about this, blogged about it. He would kind of if I talked about something, he would take the subject matter and he would break off on it, and then sort of doing a keyword play. In other words, trying to make sure that he showed up wherever keyword I showed up, something like that. And I thought, whatever. So because he would have to go a long, long way to do that. The simple reason is that I've talked about this for a lot longer than he has. So, good luck. But my point is, for anybody out there to want to have that kind of relationship with me, that's, by his design adversarial, is really sad, because the people gain a lot more by all of us in media talking about it like people used to do before the internet. Because I've been at this in terms of media for a generation, and there were times when, before the advent of the internet, you get on television or radio and you have a round robin like KQED's Forum or Ron Owens on KGO Radio when it was active. All right, I was on there, there a couple of times. So I'm at that point where I can basically explain to you how things have changed, and it's not for the better, because you all get screwed with all this fake news flying around that the mainstream media is pushing. All right, and why are they doing it? because they feel it's only their only way to make money. So look, the American Psychiatric Association, not too not too long ago, wrote a study that basically said that fake news is advanced by people who want to be part of a group. Think about it, okay? So think about the people that are advancing fake news in this instance. They all want to be part of a group. They might rush to his site or whatever, but it's for a psychological reason of just group. Now, the group? That dynamic is very just. Why? Because the group is really upset that they're losing the A's. All right, they really are. And just as we were upset, we were losing the Raiders, and we all reacted a different way. Some people, like Richard Hake, who's my friend and vlogger here, he just checked out of the Raiders. Doesn't want to talk about the Raiders at all. Heard about it to this day, and I think he's headed that same way with respect to the Athletics. That's really sad, you know. But the way sports franchises are changing, these developments are going to be going on more often than not because of the cost involved. Now, and the growth of sports as an economic development engine yet again. All right. So now Michael France says, I can't read this. Why does, okay, I got that. And now I have to say this too. Brody seems like a likable guy. All right. So I feel in the same with like Casey Pratt. All right. But they got into this thing where they're pushing it. And I'm thinking, you think, is somebody behind paying for this? Why? What's going on? Why focus on John Fisher? Why trying to make him a bad guy? Why not look at the city of Oakland unflinchingly and how it has not handled this? That's a story. All right. But they don't tell the story. I do. And it's not because it's too complicated. It's for an entirely other set of reasons they don't want to admit, but they know, but it's right there in their face. I mean, think about it. Look at how the San Francisco Chronicle handles it. Is there a dissenting columnist voice? No. Isn't it weird that there is not? Of course it's weird. Isn't it weird that among the major media players in the Bay Area, there's no dissenting voice? All right. I'm not major, but I'm like next tier, but I'm still the only dissenting voice regarding what they're saying. And I happen to be a knowledgeable one, which rankles people. I don't care. And so Zach says, I predict the A's will win a world championship in Las Vegas next decade. Once they arrive in Las Vegas, could happen. Says top 10 valuable team once they arrive in Las Vegas, like the Raiders did. Yeah, they will clear $757 million their first year, if you want to believe the estimates based on what the Las Vegas Stadium, not the Las Vegas Stadium Authority directly, but Jeremy Aguilo put out with the help of his colleagues at his economics firm, which are sound. I have no reason to disbelieve them on number. $757 million for that facility is a possible reach in the first year. And everyone forgets something, all right? Because he didn't include this, but I'm saying that they're going to make $200 million from sports gambling. You cannot make money from sports gambling in the Bay Area. And that's what everybody forgets except me. And I keep repeating that. Appreciate you. Lucy says, my son is so excited for the A's to come, but nervous that the team won't come because of Oakland's actions against the team relocating. Well, the actions are primarily, at this point, cosmetic. They're not legal because the city of Oakland basically fooled around and didn't have its own proper checklist regarding what needed to be done next. Everything was done behind closed doors, which is not how you do a project. There was no separate stadium authority. They relied on council. There were no monthly updates regarding Howard Terminal. All right, none. Even if you look at the website, it was disjointed with, information here, information there, nothing in an ordered, coordinated fashion. This is not the first time I've said this at all. If you follow my videos and you follow what I've said regularly, you know that I've been making noise about this since as far back as 2017, 18, 19. I'm the person that gave Dave Cobble the idea of using tax increment financing After we had our conversation on the 17th of April, excuse me, on the 4th of April, 2017, and field of garbage, as I call them, because they're racist, developed Neil DeMause put out an entire page devoted to me just because I said I came up with the idea. He was so triggered that someone black had enough nerve to say what was true. All right. Like, I'm not supposed to know that sort of thing. That's what he essentially wrote. And these commenters, I'm thinking these people, they have no honor and no goodness about them, right? But hey, keep talking if it makes you happy to talk about me. I'm just fine. All right. Says can't wait until January 24th then. Maybe it doesn't happen. Well, here's the thing. Why would it not happen? Okay. If they're following the same pattern as the Raiders, if the Las Vegas Stadium Authority still exists, saying something won't happen is meaningless. The structure of the to-do list is complicated and it's getting done. So if it doesn't happen, it's because something along the value chain of actions that needed to be happened didn't go. What are the basics? You don't have a design. Well, actually, now you do have a design. Stop right there. You have a design, therefore you know what the cost is. Therefore, you know what the money throw off is going to be, although you calculated that. You should have calculated that earlier, right? And they did, okay? So far, so good. The pre-development phase is at work, all right? Now, next, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, which has to be literally redesigned. And that is what is holding things up. The redesign of it is being planned. Someone had asked, I think someone connected, I think it was Chris Daly, who, by the way, if you didn't know, Chris Daly was San Francisco supervisor. For those of you who are in Las Vegas, Nevada, who don't know who Chris Daly is. I went to I showed this on a live stream. I went to his Free Tibet concert or march. Oh gosh, this was like 13 years ago, something like that. Great. I like Chris. I don't personally know him well at all, but I like what he's done in that context. But I don't like how Chris is engineering the fake news and doing these ad hominem attacks that are baseless. It's not helping anybody. If he and Alexander Marks are really serious about wanting to get money to education, you make deals with organizations that are making the money. You don't say, well, I want to have money diverted to schools. Well, how much money? All right. Because it looks insincere. And then you don't advance a argument that it's unconstitutional, but you don't understand what the deal is. They are under the impression that this is a tax. The whole deal is based on a tax. It's not. And so, but see, in their own head, they think that they're right. And really what they're doing is, even if they're not right, they are just casting doubt, trying to throw sand in the gears of the operations, what they're really trying to do. But what's going on, because they've never done this before, is that their own lack of knowledge adds to losses in court, which embarrass them. And the more losses in court they have, the more their relevance is diminished. Okay. So they need to take a chill pill, go to set up meetings with Dave Cobble if they're really serious about it, and say, hey, look, we want to change our tactic. We want to partner with you all to get money to schools through what you do and set up something so that the kids can benefit from the A's being here. That's a better way. And then ask Chris Daly, how come he doesn't spend his time doing that? All right. It's constructive. Ask him. Okay. Ask him. All right. See what his answer is. All right. And he says, Lucy vouches beyond a done deal that Oakland is just pounding like a child. And unfortunately, he's right. Look, if I were economic development director of Oakland, like I told someone, I go after expansion teams. I cold call people. Okay. I did that when I worked for Mayor Harris. Came this close to developing the Times Square of the west of Uptown. That close. All right. So yeah, missed it by that much. So yeah, I don't like crying over spilled milk and all this stuff. You're running a city. You build, you keep building. You don't stop and cry and whine and try to stop somebody else who's building and just doing what other cities do. It's ridiculous. All right. And yet the media just sits there and points this out. And that's why I just, Casey Pratt and I, we said, hey, because I kept telling him, hey, have me on a show. Like he says, yeah, it's a good idea. Never did it. All right. And so it's the same song and dance I've seen for the last generation. It's the media over there, and then me as the blogger, and they're afraid to engage with me unless I happen to be affiliated, say, with San Francisco Chronicle, where I was on the City Brights group. And then all of a sudden, my friend Larry Beal had me on the show. We had a bet about Hope Solo. That's on my YouTube channel because I love Hope Solo. I don't care what you say. And had a lot of fun. But the minute my affiliation with him ended because something they did was very unethical that I made a video about, all right, that stopped. But I didn't stop. I just kept doing and advancing my craft and building. Now we have 107 websites. So, and Larry's still my friend. I love Larry. I don't agree with how they handle me, but I like them personally. That's just the way it is. Okay. He says, I'm excited about it. Hope Riz, he says they should have legalized gambling in California decades ago. Still trying to do it. The way that they've done it is it's based on a very just cause regarding Indian tribes and their needs and how we violated their rights and their civil rights for too long. I get it. But what the state of California hasn't done is figure out a way to solve the riddle of tribal economic development and standard economic development, if you will, so that tribal development organizations can play a role in, say, rebuilding the Coliseum and bringing gambling there. The other part of it is that you have a number of people, particularly Democrats, who don't want gambling in California. Nate Miley, my good friend, who is one of the Alameda County supervisors, said on my show last year, I don't want gambling. That was a non-starter for him. I was shocked. Okay. But I understand what he's saying because, hey, look, from his standpoint, it's an abuse, right? He's already dealing with people who are abusing substances, who go homeless by record numbers, people who need health care. And so now you have this, and then the mental illness issue, right? So now, here comes gambling. So he sees it from that perspective. I get it. I believe there's a remedy, but I get where he's coming from. Okay. I just believe that we need to, just like Mark Davis and UNLV figure out a way to take the dirt out of sports gambling. We need to figure out how to mitigate sports gambling in the California context so it's doable, so that Nate's greatest fears and worries are properly addressed. Okay. So Jeff says, I live in Sacto and stopped going to A's games when they stopped fielding a competitive team. River Cats are more interesting option. But Jeff, you just admitted that you had no use you weren't really an A's fan. Competitive if they're winning. So you're a front runner. That's what you wrote. I'm just playing it where it lay. All right. That's not what they do in Chicago with the Cubs. That's not an East Coast way of behaving with respect to fandom. It's kind of like, oh, entertain me, or I'm not coming. And so then you wonder why the A's leave. So what if the A's start having sellout after sellout after sellout after sellout after sellout in Las Vegas? All right. Because it's a whole different, cultural ball of wax. All right. Plus, the A's are the brand new game in town. Major League Baseball's never been there. All right. So when that's going to start happening, a number of people thinking it's not, but the novelty period for a ballpark is generally 3 to 4 years. They're going to experience it and then some. All right. Particularly with that design. Watch. I have an old saying. Once I see something that's a phenomenon happen once, like the Raiders, I don't question it again. This is Raiders number 2. All right. Number 2. All right. So, Lucy says, I told him they'll definitely come on 100% positive. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, they'll be there. To everyone in chat, just 298 Bayer news source mentioning the A's. The truth will set you free. Well, rather than tune people out, I don't believe in that. Just, hey, challenge them. All right. Don't tune people out. That's the problem now. We have this person not listening, that person not listening. Debate. All right. keep the debate going. Because if you say tune out, it means you're not answering or not addressing the fake news they're putting out. Okay. Um, and the reason why I say this is because, look, in Oakland in particular, it's vitally important we get our act together. The media isn't helping. You're not putting the heat on government to deliver. They'll do it once in a while, like, oh, this grant program didn't work because the city didn't file it on time and all this. Oh, story. But they don't link that in Oakland to the inaction to what happened with Howard Terminal and why we didn't get Howard Terminal done in a timely fashion for the A's in 2021. I said the A's are going to leave November 25th, 2020. I called it. I was done with it. Okay. Done with it. I'm done with a generation of the city screwing up. I've lived that. I worked that. That personally affected me. So, no more Mr. Nice Guy, I figured. Francis, I saw your interview with Miss Grisham. Thank you. Brenda Grisham was stalked by Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price because Miss Grisham was leading a recall effort against her. I've never seen that before. I hope I never see that again. It was ugly. Excellent work. Everyone should watch it. Sorry for sidetracking, but it is important. I agree. Thank you. How's the schools over stadiums doing? What are they up to nowadays? I don't know in detail. Not much. I mean, what can they do? They're out of angles. They say they're trying to raise money, but I mean, what specifically are they going to do when you think that your best argument is to say, well, the stadium deal is a tax that wasn't approved for Las Vegas citizens, Nevada citizens, and that's not at all the case. It's not a tax. See, what it is once you come within the stadium, the sports district, and you spend money within that boundary, all right, that's money that then is collected. So your decision to go to that facility drives the revenue. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a tax that is imposed upon you. What their observation was, I don't understand somebody, I'm trying not to say something that's insulting, okay? But how can you be so ridiculous and not figure that out? You know, I'm serious. You're so wanting to find something wrong. Oh, I don't care about the details is what they're thinking. I just put it out there because I know it's going to make other people who don't know the details think about it. But then they're going to wind up in court again and have their blank handed to them again and look worse the second time around. Strike one, strike two, you're out. Okay? Yeah. Not strike three. It'll be only take two because their reputation is going to be further. All right? That's not a good thing for anybody. They can make a positive contribution to the whole thing. Their choice is to do it that way. Maybe like the attention. Some people like attention even if it's positive or negative. Cool. All right, I get that. What's your opinion on the lease for the ballpark, 40 years or longer? Just wondering. The longer the lease, well, it's actually 30 years for it. It was 45. It would have been 45 years in the Oakland context because that's what that's what is allowed. You want to match the collection money period for tax increment financing. All right. It's necessary to pay for a stadium. That's my short answer. So spread out the cost. Also, do you think they'll relocate again in the future or is Vegas their home for many years to come in many decades? It's a very good question. Given the design of that and how iconic it is, I can't see the A's moving for the next 30 years. So I think the timing, everything is right. Now, what combination of forces will cause them to leave 30 years from now? Who knows? All right. Who knows? But I believe that once a design is finally released and people have a concrete idea of what it will look like, and in the Las Vegas Strip context, just like what Sphere did, it'll change the conversation. All right, right there. Because right now everything is just sort of, in the ether. Vegas says, too much money to be made in Vegas. Yep. Ask the Raiders, Golden Knights, NBA, Formula One. Yeah, absolutely. There is going to be more. I am concerned, however, that Las Vegas is too expensive. Las Vegas still needs a bailout from the government. Trump said he was going to offer one to the sports industry. Never did. Would have really helped them. Would have made him a better person and a better candidate. As many issues as I have with him, that was the one thing that I thought he got right, because sports and hospitality were damaged by the pandemic, but we've done nothing to revive them collectively, other than it had the economic injury disaster loan program and the PPP loan, and that's it. But the hospitality industry in particular needs a bailout, which will really help Las Vegas. Because what's going on is that Las Vegas not having that bailout has jacked up its prices to pay for things. And then comes inflation. All right. So the jacking up was already happening, right? And then, for reasons best known to him, Biden decided to allow inflation to develop. Didn't need to. Could have imposed price controls to put a lock on everything. Didn't do that. We need bold decisions from that. You're not going to get them from Republicans. Just saying. All right. You're not. Okay. All right. That ship sailed a long time ago. Like the turn of the century, the last century, not the 20th first. Plus, the ballpark will be used for other events outside the home games. Yes. Concerts. I'm getting the feeling that in a few years we'll be back to this, but with the Oakland Roots. No, because the Roots, I'm just going to play it where it will lay. The Roots are not a major team. All right? The Roots they're not commanding a gigantic television following. So the Roots are in a place where I believe that the city needs to spend money on the Roots development and get involved in developing as a sport, just like the Oakland Ballers. They're small. Now they want to use media to make themselves seem bigger than they are, but look, a sound civic operation won't let them do that. They need to be grown in economic development fashion. That's where they are. But if the Oakland Roots relocates, they're of such a size that somebody else can start an Oakland Roots to replace them in another sense. All right. I'm just being honest. I love the Roots and what they've done for Oakland by creating them. I love the energy of creating these new businesses. All right. But let's not get it twisted. The Oakland Roots are already playing in Hayward for a while. I'm thinking they're playing Hayward, not Oakland. They say that they want all this stuff. All right. No. They don't command the numbers at all. The A's are a major league baseball team. So what you want is you want to basically take somebody else's team and bring them to Oakland, which we haven't done before. Well, since the A's, right? Okay. Not grow an expansion team. Get a team that's known and have its fan base literally shift its attention toward you. That's what Oakland needs to do. And so Vegas Mark says, I like WWE events like a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. He says, or concerts. I'm super excited now. Can't wait to go. Michael says, Clark County Teachers Union approved their contract and got 100% of what they're asking for. Schools over stadiums. There's no story anymore. How can you ask for more money when it's just celebrated victory? Yeah. So, Mike Frank, the teachers union has nothing to do with schools over stadiums. And, from a standpoint of perception is what he's talking about. I get what he's saying. From a standpoint of perception, he's right. Okay. I hope to stay in Las Vegas for my lifetime. Would be devastated if they left 2 times in my lifetime. And I'm in my 30s. Oh. Vegas Mars says, Zach B, that's like saying the Saudis leaving Saudi Arabia because there's too much oil. Michael Ferguson says the National Finals Rodeo will use the new ballpark. And that will be, hey, Cowboy City. Oh, my goodness. Mike France says, agree, but it's the story they pitch to people signing that goes away with the new contract. Right. It's the perception. Lucy says Las Vegas is going to be the Athletics' home, Zach, for your lifetime. I truly believe that because Las Vegas will make the A's a cash cow. Definitely, I agree with that. I really do. Lucy's thank you. I mean, think about it. A Major League Baseball team is moving to Las Vegas, which already enjoys a visitorship annually of roughly 40 million, give or take. So, whew, right? Appreciate the reassurance. Vegas is the sports version of El Dorado Gold Rush. The sports leagues are the prospectors. I like that. I might borrow that. Jeff says, what do you think about the Adelson family buying a majority share of the Dallas Mavericks? I talked to a friend of mine about this the other night. I originally thought that the sports expenditure they were letting, right, was going to be, they're going to buy the Raiders, or at least a significant part from Mark Davis, because a few years ago, that's exactly 2017 that we talked. 2016, the talk was that Mark was at some point in the future going to sell the team to Sheldon Adelson's kids. All right. So when I first heard about the Adelsons putting their money into sports, I thought, okay, well, this is it. This is it. This is it. Turned out to be this. The Adelsons are fabulously wealthy. So it doesn't mean that it closes out the Raiders by any stretch of the imagination. But I thought it was a smart play from Mark. As I understand it, Mark wants to, his end game is to build a, stop me when you realize you've heard this before, is to build a sports and entertainment complex around Reunion Arena down there. That's the idea. And he wants to bring sports gambling to Texas. So look out, all right? It's the wave. And Oakland, look, Oakland and California, we're moving further and further behind the curve. That's the economic development curve. That's a bad thing, folks, all right? A very bad thing. Mikkel says, the untold story of the A's is how the government completely screwed up for years and the media covered for them. Yeah, for access. Well, I need to talk to the mayor, so I can't say anything. Yeah, right. Unless, of course, the mayor is black, and then they change their tune, which does happen. Just take a look at how Fox in Chicago is treated. The mayor there, the mayors there, okay, who are black. Anyway, the media covers for them and continues to cover for them, except you, me, he says. The only way to prove is to expose what's wrong. Yep, that's it. And they're stopping us from doing that. Not stopping us physically, but by not getting the word out of the need to make it better. And then crime after 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 crime is happening in Oakland. People are getting sick. People moving out. Tech is moving out. Businesses, iconic small businesses are closing left and right. And Oakland is beautiful. But I don't want that to be the only thing we have. I believe in Oakland as number one. Economic development, Oakland should be number one. But apparently I'm from a school of thought that doesn't have a lot of support now. Wild. Zach says, Lucy, just in merchandise and ticket sales, hopefully not too expensive like the Raiders tickets. Hope not. Mr. Ferguson says, so what will happen with the Coliseum site? I was happy to see you participate in the JPA meetings. Thank you. We're going to build Coliseum City. You heard it here first. I'm not the only one who's not giving up on that, but I'm telling you here, we are going to build Coliseum City. All right. It's going to involve some players that you probably are going to be surprised when you hear the names. Okay. But we're finally at that point where I believe we're going to fix this problem once and for all. A multi-layered approach that solves all of our problems. Chop, 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 chop. I'm really excited. All right. I really am. So, hey, got all the comments. That was, yeah. So I will say that, let's get back to the Stadium Authority issue now that I got through all that. All right. Let's take a look at where we are with the agenda. Let's go here. Okay. Meeting details. You see that? No, that's not for you. Can't see something that small. Heck, I couldn't. That's better. All right, let me okay. He says, oh, and will the A's help or hinder? Well, the A's are in Las Vegas, but the Athletics, and then the Athletics investment group is, they own different things. But I will just say this: they will be involved, and they will love it. They will love it. I will say it just like that. They will be involved, and they'll love it. But it won't be to bring baseball back. I'm not saying anything like that at all. Okay. But they will be involved and they will love it. I repeat, they will be involved and they will love it. They will be involved and they will love it. So, all right. Now, it's meetings. This is the agenda. Okay, here's Stadium Authority revenue report. Now, see, when I clicked on this last time, I got file not found. This time, ooh, I still get it. You say, what am I talking about? I will show you. Okay. This is not a good look. All right. What is going on here? Look at this. I mean, they already have, see that? File not found. Yeah, file not found. If you think what you're looking for should be here, please contact the site owner. Yee. All right. But then also look at this, right? You see that? That means their SSL socket. This is not a secure site. Don't put passwords in it. Not secure. This has been a case for a long time. They need to better maintain their site. All right. So they have revenue report, file not found, audit report, not found, financial statements, not found, activity report, found. All right. And this has to do with the stadium lease agreement for the Raiders. So you see that it's dated March 28, 2018. Got nothing to do with the A's. All right. You would say, what am I talking about? I'm talking about this. Let me show you. Or as Art Goldfinger would say, I will show you. Here, that document. All right. That's old. Okay. This is, but it's a report. I mean, not old, it's December, but it refers to the existing facility. There's nothing here that has to do with the Athletics. Now, all right, get this. The real deal that everybody expected was going to be focused on, all right, is in one sense, take a look at this. This is the agenda book, all right? You can't see that from here, but now you can. Board of Directors meeting. Ba-da! Okay, Thursday, next week, all right? Noticed, 3 o'clock, Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board, all right? Now, public notice, all that. The agenda, number 1, Stadium Authority Board appointment for possible action. I think that's to ratify that Tommy White, that sort of thing is going to be there. All right. Fiscal year 2024 room tax distribution waterfall report. Basically, I can tell you what this is going to say. The good news is that basically they're $18 million up. You know, good for them, right? Public officials liability policy, annual comprehensive financial report, stadium activity report. That is, basically is telling everybody that, hey, what's going on with this is zoom. Yeah, zoom in. Just zoomed in, all right? Maybe can I zoom in a little bit more? Yeah, I can zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, like Rosanna, Dana. Now, all right, maybe just a little bit, yeah, like that, all right? Yeah, all right. Okay. All right, what does that tell us? The end. Total event attendance between the start of this period, which is Q3 2023, Q1 2021 and Q3 2023. All right. Total is 428,727 latest, but the total added up by quarter is 3,603,523 people have visited Las Vegas in a just a little over. So you go to Q1, and then be Q1 2022, and then Q1 2023. So just in a little over a 2-year, 2.5 year period, they have drawn 3.6 million people. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Now, just wait till the A's come and they add to this, all right? And that number will probably be double, okay? I would say, I'm not going to say it's double. I'm not going to do that. But I would say that it would probably get to about 5 million, about 5 million. Now, to give you a comparable, that would be roughly 1/3 the visitation rate of Disneyland. All right. So, hey, that's not bad. That's not bad. And it could perform even better than what I'm saying at drawing 5 million. But if they drew 5 million per year, they'd be right in it. But as it looks right now, it would be more like, maybe 3 million, somewhere in there, adding the A's, something like that. I'm going to just sit down one day and do a hard calculation and see what that looks like. My point is that those visitor rates are substantial. Just let that just put that on the table. They're substantial, and you had the best quarter we had 642,000 2020 through Q3. All right, so the third quarter is very good to the facility. Very good to the facility. And then it tends to go down during the first quarter and the second quarter. And so where we are right now is we're looking at Q3 right now. And so I think by Q4, we're looking at somewhere along my projections of Q4 will probably hit, when those numbers come in, probably hit about 510, somewhere in there. Because of the travel and everything else that people like to do with Christmas in Las Vegas and so on. But hey, contributions aren't bad, all right, at all. At all. Now, he says, Tao will announce a Blue Ribbon Committee to announce who lost the A's. I don't know. I pray for Shang. I really do. Okay. So fiscal year 2024, University of Nevada, Las Vegas compensation payment. That's the one, almost 2 million that they're paying for the closing of Sam Boyd Stadium. And then they'll adjourn. And the rest of the minutes are from last year. And I believe the organization, we have staff reports. This is the one. All right. Staff reports, changing the Stadium Authority representative in Allegiant Stadium lease. Okay. There's no fiscal impact. And here's the decision. Member White moved, seconded by Member Jones Blackhurt, and was carried by unanimous vote of the voting members to 1, approve a change to the authority representative in the lease agreement to the administrator responsible for the cooperative undertaking between the Stadium Authority and the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. This is talking about the A's. All right. All right. And authorize the board chair to execute any subsequent changes to the authority representative in the lease upon the board's approval of any changes to the administrator and the interlocal agreement between the Stadium Authority and Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. All right. And so it says that the current administrator for the Stadium Authority, pursuant to the interlocal agreement, as the current one, the Stadium Authority representatives will be Mr. Finger. All right. And Mr. Finger noted that the representative's role covers notifications were required under the lease agreement and reduction in resolution discussions. The Stadium Authority representative does not have a mandatory power related to the lease. So basically, this is just parking Mr. Finger in as kind of as administrator. All right, that's what this does. It cements him because remember, prior to him, you had Jeremy Arguello in this role. So that's what's going on. So that was moved. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Hunton Andrews Kurth LLP, Legal Services, and Brownstein Hyatt Faber Schreck Legal Services. Mr. Finger presented agenda items 2 and 3 together, providing that in January 2017, the board awarded a legal representation contract to the organizations through a competitive process. Mr. Finger noted that there are limited numbers of attorneys and firms with specialized stadium knowledge. I would have written this differently. I would have said that there are only a handful of people around the country that know how to set up stadium authorities. These guys are good. And that directly addresses Chris Daly's criticism. How come you can't find somebody local? Because local organizations do not have that knowledge just growing on trees in Las Vegas or mini cities. That's why. All right. So there you go. Okay. And so so basically the decision with this was Tommy White moved, seconded by Jones Blackard. It was carried unanimous vote of the members to execute agreement with them to not to exceed 700,000 existence with negotiations with the A's Major League Baseball team for the development and leasing of a new Major League Baseball stadium in Clark County, Nevada. Legal support related to basically all this has to do is with the set of documents that have to be approved. They've already got the relocation agreement out of the way, non-relocation agreement out of the way from the legislature standpoint, right? Which is a first. But they're going to wind up approving about 16 different documents. Well, more than that, when all is said and done. Very similar to what was done with the Raiders situation, okay? So the other delay is that now that Mark Arnold's group has been paid for, they're hard at work in working on altering the stadium authority by legislative design, all right? That's where they're going, so they can accommodate a stadium and a ballpark, okay? That's what's going on. So there's a lot of work to do, and they're not ready to present everything. That's what's happening. And so this is what you get with this meeting. You're not going to see too much more added to this, all right? They did this. And you had, of course, the Mortensen McCarthy presentation, where they did the draft community benefits agreement, and they'll continue to hash that out. And at the end of, then they have the draft lease agreement with a stadium events company. They work fast, don't they? All right. Now, the question is, what was done at the end? All right. It was informal and did not require board action, which means it is still to be done. Okay. Then you had the floor comments from the public and all that sort of stuff. All right. And the public comment submissions, of which they are long and start with who is this? The Chamber of Commerce of the Asian Chamber of Commerce. Yes, okay. The Asian Chamber of Commerce, and then Julie Wilson submitted a comment. Schools Over Stadiums, of course, and said, why are we here today and we don't even have actual rendering readings of the public funded likely dome stadium? It says readings. That's what it says, folks, here. It says readings. Readings? Readings. Look, don't they proofread their stuff? They meant renderings. Okay? They meant renderings. All right? This is the problem with the attention to detail they don't bring to this. And I'm not making fun of them. I'm saying, hey, look, when you're taking on big dogs, you got to have every I dotted and T crossed. Okay? Every I dotted and T crossed. Why are we here today when the Major League Baseball has yet to approve the move? And, well, they did. Why are we here today when John Fisher has secured no private financing? Well, really, in a sense, they have. But we need to get the documents out of the way so that the groundbreaking is established. And that's going to happen very soon. The legislature, when that public money was approved, it unlocked the preliminary work toward achieving private financing. This is going to be a private placement bond issue for this. And the A's are going to buy the facility and then give it to Clark County. All right. Uh, why are we not talking about the jobs we create by building schools over crowded classrooms? Oh, and lastly, why are we rushing this? And they're not rushing it. Okay. They're not. My question again is, why are you guys just trying to throw salt in the machine as opposed to really seriously working on plans and ideas to help schools gain money from the A's success in Las Vegas? All right. So that's why I question their sincerity. All right, I really do. So so there you go. All right. There you go. All right. I hope all of that has helped to answer your questions. And if you have any more, please put them in the comment section. Or number, you know how to get a hold of me, put them there too. All right. Now I'm going to do my, oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Let me see here. Oh, I think I got that out of the way. Awesome. He says, okay, we get all this out of the way. All right. So, okay. Oh, Ray says, Rap Album Depot says, I think the first thing Oakland should focus on is getting NHL or MLB 5. Says, thank you, my friend. You're quite welcome, sir. Thank you. I think we need to focus on having a stadium authority and development authority in general that allows us to focus for the change rather than this thing being so political all the time. All right. And there you go. Major League Soccer. Again, regardless of who we go after, we need a process. All right. Okay. All right, folks. That ends this stream. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube, please, if you haven't done so already. Bookmark ZennyReport.com. We have a new Las Vegas dedicated website, CESLasVegasNews.com. All right. Talk to you all soon. I'll keep you abreast of this, and we'll talk about the Stadium Authority meeting, of course, after it happens on Thursday. But I'll probably see you before. I will see you before then. See you later, everybody. Thank you.